Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another Ceramic Grillworks YouTube video. This evening we're going to get this thing set up to do a mega meat episode for you. Sort of an instructional tutorial type of thing where we're going to be showcasing our two-tier adjustable swing rack holding some serious meat. And serious meat, I'm referring to an 11.5 pound brisket, and we're also going to be doing a 12-pound pork shoulder for pulled pork on the upper rack. Show you how convenient it is to be able to utilize this thing and do two types of meat at the same time. Some of the equipment we're going to be using tonight is going to be the new Grill Dome Rapid Light Starter to get the charcoal lit up. Our wood chips of choice for this evening's cook is going to be the Jack Daniel's bourbon soaked wood chips. Monitoring the grill overnight, we're trusting our Barbecue Guru DigiQ2. We'll be setting this thing up to cook indirect, of course, low and slow, probably in the neighborhood of about 220 to 225 degrees, and have this thing go all night long. So stay tuned. We'll be coming back at you momentarily to show you the next step on what to do and how to get this thing started. Thank you. One thing we always want to emphasize when using these electric starters, regardless if it's Grill Dome or anybody else for that matter, safety. The longer you leave these things plugged in, the hotter they're going to get. And of course, when you go to reach in here to pull these things out, they're going to be pretty hot to handle. So what we like to emphasize is about 5 to 6 minutes on some form of a timer. I use my phone pretty consistently, but use an oven timer or whatever the case. We are getting ready to light the cooker up. As we said, this is going to be a mega meat, long overnight cook, low and slow, where we're going to be smoking that brisket and pork shoulder. We've loaded the firebox pretty much as high as it'll go, keeping the vent holes exposed for maximum airflow. The amount of charcoal that you see here at about the 220 degree mark is going to give us anywhere between an 18 to 20 hour cook. You pyramid it in the center, again, to keep the vent holes exposed. I've loaded some bigger pieces of lump at the very bottom to try to generate the fire. I know some of us like to start the fire from the top down and burn down. I tend to prefer to build from the bottom up and let the charcoal dissipate that way. So at this point, what we're going to do, we're going to plug in our lighter. Make sure that your bottom vent is wide open for maximum airflow. We're going to shut the lid. We're going to open up our top vent, set our timer for about 6 minutes. That pretty much is it. Sit tight, we'll be coming back at you to show you the next phase. Welcome back. We've hit our 5-minute mark on our charcoal starter, so at this point we're going to unplug it. And as you hear and see, we've got some crackling going on. This is Humphrey's brand charcoal, by the way. So now what we're going to do is we're going to carefully remove our starter. And again, always please practice safety, safe grilling. And when you pull this out, as you see, this thing is cherry red. We're going to situate our charcoal to make sure that our vent holes are exposed as much as possible. As we stated once before, we want airflow through here. We don't want to suffocate anything. So make sure that your vent holes are open. All right, what we're going to do at this point, one thing that we always suggest to our customers is when you're dealing with ceramic that you never want to overshoot your temperatures. So at this point in time, what we're going to do is we're going to set up our DigiQ to get our grill to that 220, 225 degree mark that we want. All right, here we go, folks. What we're going to do here so we don't overshoot our temperatures is we're going to plug in our DigiQ at this point and get it programmed and set up. As you notice, as soon as you turn it on or plug it in, the unit turns on by itself. This is going to be your Pit Pro, which is going to monitor the temperature of the fire during your cook. So when we're getting the grill lit up, what we're going to do is just basically kind of just set it in the grill. Shut the lid right on the cable. We're going to mount our blower to the bottom. Remove your bottom damper door. Install the adapter. Make sure we got a good seal. Make sure your damper is fully opened. We're going to set our pit temperature for about 220 degrees. As you see, this little flash pit is set. We're going to do the pork shoulder at 100. Let's see, make sure we're going the right way here. We're going to pull this thing at 195 degrees, and as you see, it'll tell you that the food is set. So at this point in time, the Digi, the Power Draft system, is going to get our grill up to that 220, 225 mark, so we don't overshoot our temperatures, because as we've discovered, when you shoot over your temps here, it's going to take a long time for the heat to come back down. This is a tribute to all the carnivores that are out there on this Mega Meat episode here at Ceramic Grillworks. We've got some serious pound of meat sitting on this counter. That brisket at 11.5 pounds has been prepped and ready to go using the John Henry products. We like to refer to this as the Texas brisket trifecta. You got the brine, you have the Texas brisket marinade, and the Texas brisket dry rub. And that big blob of pork shoulder over there has been lovingly coated with the John Henry bourbon dry rub. Alright folks, this is it, pretty much the moment of truth. At this point everything's going to be kind of no pun intended, rapid fire kind of thing, with the wood chips getting put on, the indirect getting put on, our two-tier system being in place, and then of course the meat itself getting put on the grill. So we're going to do this kind of one try, one last shot, so to speak, and here we go. Our grill's pretty much at the temperature where we need it to be, and let's begin. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to toss in our strained wood chips. All we're going to do, let me get my light here so I can see what I'm doing. And at this point, after they've been strained, all we're going to do is just toss them on the fire. And at this point, this is the point of no return. Once you have the wood chips on, things are going to start to smolder. Some of us like to use a mix of wet and dry. Some of us like to go straight up wet or straight up dry. I kind of prefer to go all wet. At this point, if you're a grill dome user, I'm sure you're very familiar with the double D rack, the indirect, and also for searing. At this point, here's our 10-inch deflector to deflect the heat, to do our indirect and to catch drippings. Here comes our two-tier rack getting put on, and you kind of have to work fast, folks. Now we have our swing rack in place. Let's get this out of the way. That is one serious slab of beef. And we all know to go into the thicker part with your meat probe, like so. Folks have no idea how long I've been waiting to do this, or to have the ability to do this. And look at that. When you need to get to your brisket, right out of your way. Everything stays nice and happy. Alright folks, we're going to shut our lid. We're going to adjust our vent. We prefer things to be rather smoky. Make sure our damper is set. Good. Alright guys, here's our digis that are going to be monitoring the grill overnight for this Mega Meat video that we're doing here. The first digi that you see here is monitoring the pork shoulder that's sitting on the upper rack of our 2-tier, and this one here is monitoring the brisket that is on the bottom rack. With the DigiQ2 here, we don't have the option of monitoring dual meats on one controller. So this controller is actually monitoring the pit temperature and it's monitoring the meat temperature. This one here is more or less just a glorified internal meat thermometer, if you will. But the barbecue gurus do carry a CyberQ that'll take care of dual pits, dual meats simultaneously. So if you're going to be doing this kind of cooking and you want to be able to monitor 2 meats at the same time, we would highly recommend the CyberQ. If not, you can go with something like this where you have 2 digis that are monitoring everything. But again, this is just your meat thermometer. This one here is actually doing the work, controlling the grill itself, and of course taking care of the brisket temperature or the pork butt temperature as well.